Hello everybody and welcome back for the Sunday tour around the yard and gardens. It's kind of bright, so you know, got the hat on, please forgive me for that. That is what it is. And it's not too terribly hot yet, but it is definitely, it's working on being a cooker, so I'm getting this done on the early side of things. I got some things I definitely want to show you, and it occurs to me that I haven't shown you a couple things in a really long time. So let's start with those, and then we'll just kind of tootle around the yard, you know, like we do on Sunday. My trusty assistant is out here today. Hopefully he will be good and quiet. We shall see. Shocks is off train chasing at the moment. But anyway, occurs to me I have not shown you the black lace elderberry bush in quite some time. Here we can see that it has grown to about the same height it got to last year. Off in the back here we've got, well, this is one of the branches broke off last year, so it probably was about here in total growth. I'm hoping it will get to a greater point than that before we're done for the year, but I'm really not expecting much to come from that. We haven't looked at the gojies in quite a while because they're under the bedroom window, and I don't know, for some reason that weirds me out. But anyway, these gojies are not getting anywhere near enough light. They are growing, as we can see. They've grown, as we can see. Oh, YouTubers, eh? But anyway, these things have gotten pretty sizable since we plunked them into the ground out of their buckets when we first got here, and they are pretty well bunkered into the ground. But like I say, I'm not pleased with the amount of light they're getting, and I feel they should be doing something towards even basic productivity at this point. So we are going to move these up front to where those two monster Saskatoon berry bushes are, and then we're going to have kind of two monster Saskatoons, a couple of lilacs for decoratives, and then a couple of monster gojies, because according to my research, these things can get like 13 feet wide, 13 feet tall, and that sounds like a pretty good front fence to me, you know. Edible, decorative, somewhere for the birds to play. That works. This is not working. So, yes. Other things we haven't seen recently include my little semi-wild raspberry patch here. I am getting a couple little tiny fruit off this year. Most of them I'm just chucking back down in. I have tried one or two, and those of you who sub to the farm channel, I've got a video coming up on that in the next little while. Did you guys see that quick shot of the frog? Those guys are so cute. But anyway, yeah, I haven't shown these in a while. They are coming along nicely. That one I'm going to eat. That looks nice. And I have found another raspberry bramble patch to gather some from. So we're going to start a whole new row of these back behind the wild onions, the walking onions. That's going to be fun. Like I say though, that's all going to be on the farm channel. Permaculture stuff, you know. You can share so many things through a YouTube video, but unfortunately you just can't share the joy of a fresh berry. But you guys know that was amazing. Speaking of joy, if you caught yesterday's live stream, well, okay, let's start with yesterday's live stream. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who did catch that, participated in the chat, and I wanted to thank all you guys for those super chats and everything. That was quite an experience, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely going to be more of those. Probably a live stream coming up tomorrow, actually, because I've got more tastings coming up. But anyway, what got us to here was in the live stream that was supposed to be about mushrooms. I ended up talking about chickens, because I got chickens on the brain. I've been making some changes in front of the long shed. In cleaning it up, I found all those screens, which are totally useless for this project, but in cleaning up the back 40 area, I recovered this chunk of whatever this type of fencing is. It's an interesting old sort of creation. It's like planks and bent wire. It looks like it should roll out really easy. Kinda doesn't, but that's okay. It creates a barrier, and I'm not actually going to use this to restrain any wildlife so much as we're going to paint it up, and it's going to be a decorative cover for the bottom of the coop area. You can notice that what I'm thinking of for coop area here includes this Saskatoon berry bush, the smoky Saskatoon berry bush that we brought with us from BC. It's a bit of a bone of contention between Shocks and I right now. She feels that it should be out in the rest of the yard where we can benefit from it. And I'm like, you know, that sucker costs less than 2 bags of feed, and it's a nice purple fruit. They're very productive once it gets going. It's wild food. I think we should leave it there. I may have her convinced on this. I'm not sure. We'll find out when it all gets assembled. But I was doing some drawings, and I'm looking at about 8 feet forward, give or take, because that'll still leave me room to get through with the riding mower. And then it's roughly 19 feet across the front to get to the edge of the long shed here, which is, you know, about here to the long shed, and then 8 feet back there. I got 7 feet under the eave there. Figure if I drop it down to 5, I'll have enough of an angle that rain will fall off of it, and most snow should. But I'm going to have a cage roof on there anyway, so the snow will be supported. I'm hoping to use proper lumber and construct the outdoor chicken run correctly, but we'll see. I'm cheap, so if lumber just shows up, I'll use it, you know. Anyway, it's mostly about gardens, so let's go over here to where we recently put in this swale type, hugel type raised bed garden thing, with which I have been testing the effluent from that biogas chamber. Now, looking at it, you know, from a distance, you can't really see too much of a difference in the two sides. But looking at it a little more closely, it does seem like the beans are larger here and the tomatoes are slightly more productive. So that is exciting. We'll see. I'm still very much leaning towards filling this with garlic after we bring all these plants down, and using that for our garlic bed. Again, not fully committed to the idea, but I'm very much leaning that way. Taking a look at Troll's garden kind of briefly here, we can definitely see that the herbs are doing much better in these fabric pouches than the tomatoes are. I don't think I'll be putting tomatoes in there again. However, this Nepalese bell that has suffered so much is finally starting to put on flowers in a few different places. So I'm going to have to say it does work for peppers, which I find interesting because, you know, all my life growing up, I'd always heard that, you know, if it'll work for one of these, it'll work for the other. And that's clearly not the case. Here's a tragedy, eh? This was looking so nice, and then it just took a turn downhill and gone. So I'm probably going to harvest these while they have some juices left in them. I'm going to mix them into my ongoing batch of salt for this year. There's not a whole lot of that, but it's getting to have some interesting flavor. It's Manitoba tomato that did so well for me in the ground last year. See, it's not the fruit, it's not the same size as I was getting last year, not the same kind of production numbers, and the plant, I just cannot keep this thing moist enough. We've got the pear tomato, which is one of the many cherry type tomatoes that have been doing so well for me. This is doing the best out of all of them. It recovers the fastest from the wilts, and has put on the greatest, I'm going to say weight volume of tomato fruit since it's been here. So it's clearly the winner, and if I am going to try these with tomatoes again, it will be cherry varieties. What do we got over here? I think this started off its life as a bush beefsteak improved or something, and we can see a few clusters on there, but things are having a hard time really sticking it and staying on. So interesting test. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know, herbs do well, peppers do well, maters not so well. Gardening is an educational experience. I cannot stress this enough. Mint here looks like it could use a little watering. No great surprise, but we all know I'll water that up and it'll be fine. You know what seems to be doing ridiculously well in all these heat waves is the mouse melon. These leaves, you can look at them now, they're quite strong. They feel like a thick plastic too, like they're really cool. And the vine is so thin on this and yet so strong. This is all coming off of one little seedling. You guys remember this struggled along in the dungeon. You can clearly tell just how dry that soil is. So suffering is not a problem. And this is probably one of the largest mouse melons I've ever grown. I'm letting a few of these stay on here till they get as big as they can, because I want the best possible seeds that I can get from this. It's another example of one of those larger ones. The ones I nibble are usually closer to about that size there. They taste like a regular cucumber, except you can eat the whole dang thing, and it's just tiny and cute, but it's a cucumber. But anyway, this is a very, very drought resistant plant. If you'd like to grow, you know, good tolerant cucumbers, mouse melons, cucumber melons, this is something I think everybody should consider. Besides, kids love eating them, and anything you can do to get kids eating veggies, that's your long-term win there. So yes, that about wraps it up for our drought tolerant plants plug for the day. Good plants though. Thanks again to Mr. Rob Bob. Then turning around behind me here, we've got the pepper patch. This is one of the hot lemon varieties. Seems to be trying very hard at this late stage in the season to produce flowers and fruit. I don't know what all will come of it. It's another one of those plants that if you had just gotten on the job a couple months sooner, and that's why I try so hard to start my pepper plants early, is because I just don't seem to have the season. But this year has still been pretty good for productivity on the ones that made it this far. This is another one of the hot lemons, getting to be a nice sized pepper here, coming along quite nicely. Again, I see lots of attempts at starting other peppers. Decent start on that one. But already this far into August, I just don't know if I've got the time. I have learned in my short time here in Manitoba to expect at least some snowfall by the end of October. So, yeah. I need to grow more patience. Can somebody send me seeds for that? Are there seeds for that? What I really need to do is get off my butt and find the materials to build a good solid greenhouse. But it's a budget issue. I'm not dealing with any more of that red tape repair stuff. I want to build a greenhouse and have it up once and know that it will be there for years to come. Sugar Rush Red coming along nicely. I'm guessing because it's a Sugar Rush, I may never see red on that. I don't know. You guys kind of got me a little bit nervous with that in the chat the other day. Hopefully I'll see some color on that. And like I've said before, this is already more than I've seen out of Sugar Rush Red plants in previous attempts to garden. So it's promising. At least I'll get early peppers. And I don't necessarily mind them early. It's a pretty decent flavor on that peach, so I imagine the red will be the same. We'll skip that pepper. We'll move on to that one there. This is the ahi pennick at the end of the row that I think we'll be seeing in a live stream somewhere on the soonish side. Got lots of pods starting on the top with some good development. And we do have these two hangers down at the bottom there that are definitely starting to take some color on that one. That's the smoother one, so I'm going to let Shocks have that. And then there's this freak here, a little more wrinkly. I'm a little more concerned about that, so I figure I'll take the bullet, bite the bullet as it were on that one. I guess that's a literal thing in the pepper world, isn't it? Sliding over, this was supposed to be a super chili. I have yet to see an open flower on that, not expecting much. This was also supposed to be a super chili. Like I say, I am thoroughly convinced it is a garden salsa. And this little beauty will be up tomorrow. I remember these being as somewhere in the neighborhood of a jalapeno, but my tolerance is clearly gone from just the powders and the sauces and not having fresh around. It's not what it used to be. The ahi Guyana over here. Lots of skinny little peppers. Similar in shape to those Sugar Rush Red, but these are kind of a light green in their earlier stages, whereas those are almost kind of a light cream. So that's interesting. Always fun to watch these things grow. Let's see, we'll slide up over here to my best $10 pod. Ooh, secrets, it had two. All right, and Rob Bloomberg there, I did catch what you were saying the other day. and I will save some of these for you. I don't think I have any left from the previous batch of seeds, but I will save some of these for you, assuming they get ripe, and make sure I send them off to you with that mate straw. Mate straws matter. Ah, the thistle patch, the thistle patch. Somewhere in here are radishes, radish pods. And yep, eternally grateful to you ladies, because these are delicious. Quite radishy, even at that size, still quite good. Crunch, crunch, crunch. We come to the carrots, and oh my, these carrots are doing well. I'm going to go ahead and say I think this is my best year ever for carrot production. And I really thought I'd screwed it up this year, but even though I never really thinned it out and kind of the Darwinian solution, you'll notice these ones that are all clumped together here have just kind of shoved each other out of the way like I was expecting. And now, you know, I've got some pretty decent looking little carrots. If I recall, this was like a Denver's or something, so it's supposed to be a stubby, short-ish carrot. And the season's not done yet, so that's about what I should expect. Check this one here. Right? That's a good variety of carrot for here, I think. Coming out pretty clean, which is delightful. But that kind of makes sense, because in a few ways, this is like a no-dig setup without actually being one. I mean, we did dig it out initially, but it's mostly layers of mulch and scrape it up for seeds and then plant in it. And I don't do much. I don't think we actually twisted and turned this garden this year. And from what I hear about no-dig stuff, things come out cleaner. So I'm going to say that encourages, if not proves, the theory. Ah, the corn. We've had some wicked winds go along with this heat, and it's been tossing this stuff around. So I've kind of got some of these leaning on each other now, but that's probably good for pollination anyway. Some of these ends are getting a little darker. I think I'm basically waiting for those to be dead and dry and brown, and then in theory my corn is done. Got very little practical experience with corn, probably shouldn't have done that. That's feeling pretty decent so far though. So yeah, good year for carrots. Might be a good year for corn. Who knew traditional gardening actually worked, eh? Less than traditional gardening also works sometimes. Doesn't that thing just look weird? Right? But I found it in the treasure pile, and it's it's certainly holding the tomatoes up better. They're certainly getting better airflow, and I'm certainly getting a much better idea as to how tragic this situation has gotten with the blossom end rot. Pretty much every tomato I pull has this situation. So from my question for the general tomato growing audience, are all of these going to be dead if I water it with some Epsom salt water now? Can I save it? So I was noticing this beauty and I'm going, oh yeah, baby, you're looking good. I hope you're okay. And no. That's disappointing, because otherwise this bunker garden, for all its freakish appearance, it's been my best go at tomatoes yet. Not only just here, but like ever, I think. I mean, sure, I've gotten the indigo rose tomatoes to grow fairly well, but they're more of a cherry type and therefore kind of more productive by nature. These larger varieties have not necessarily been my forte. So yeah, if I soak that sucker down, like, well, it usually takes about 20 gallons of water. So 20 gallons of water and what, a cup? 2 cups of Epsom salts? Can I save these tomatoes? That's the question. And I guess another question would be, can I just cut off the blossom end rot at the bottom and still safely eat the rest of the tomato? Or are they junk? Because I've been tossing them into the compost. But if I can still eat the rest of it, I could make like green tomato mincemeat or something, get those old ones off of there. I don't know. Let me know. Get back to me, please. We're over here now by the wild garden patch, where some of you may recall that I have beans growing and all that. Much like the carrots, the beans were planted in very nice, neat little rows here, except I never got around to weeding this patch, and I never really got around to watering them. So it's kind of just nature's garden at this point. And yet out of that we have some burgundy beans that, this is all one plant. There was only one seed that sprouted from these guys, and they have put on some pretty decent looking beans. I'm pleased. These guys will be buttered up in dinner tonight. Just cook them like regular beans, but yeah, not bad. And then deep in the heart of all this mess, oh, troll. Yes, I was fondling this. Little grains were coming out. I think you're totally right. Probably amaranth. Anywho, in the heart of all this, we have some yellow beans. I think 2 or 3 of these came up. Again, not really nurtured, not cared for. You can tell from their environment. I didn't weed here, did I? And yet these suckers have grown and produced. Not as well as the ones on the edge of the forest, you know, but pretty well when you consider looking for those beans is like playing Where's Waldo. So that's interesting. That's almost too interesting. The leftover bed, the brassica bed, you little white bastard cabbage moth, you. Some lovely lace cabbages here. And I think the most successful thing in this garden is probably this pink shard that is going to seed for me. I'm very excited about that. The stuff I've got is from 2012, so new seed is a good thing. Kind of wishing I already had those chickens though, because then at least some of that stuff could be chicken food. Gonna have to bring this zucchini in pretty soon. That's about the size of our plate. Well, it's got some decent weight. Plus, I've noticed this thing is not even trying to put on another fruit while that one is on there. So, I'm hoping if I give it a pull, maybe we can get a baby zucchini off of that before the season is done. Might as well get around to dumping this little cabbage here. Dead for so many reasons. Over here in the tomato bin, though, we have... Do you see that red in the bottom there? Yeah. These, I believe, are Sweet Aroma hybrid tomatoes. This is the first year I've successfully grown them, and I tortured the bugger out of these things. If you recall, these sat in a little 6-pack here for probably another month after I planted out everything else in the tomato grove. And yet, even though they're basically growing in a gallon of soil in a bunker full of sod, look at that! So much tomato growth. That is ridiculous. I love it. And there are fruit all over this thing, right? I don't see the blossom end rot issues here yet. So I'm definitely going to water this with some of that Epsom salt water. Hopefully we can get it before it's too late. Let's take a look at some of these tomatoes. I still don't have all of my teepees up yet, but I'm sure you're not terribly surprised. This is one of the celebrity hybrids. Good productive tomato. Got some color coming in on that one there. She's got a peachy blush. Got some color coming in on those ones there. Gonna be nice. I don't see blossom end rot issues there yet. This is another celebrity hybrid. This is clearly not the best in class, but it does look better being supported a little bit. The tomatoes that are blowing me away this year, though, are the cherry varieties. These Sweet 100s. Tested those yesterday, day before, on a live stream. Nah. Oh, yeah. I will be growing these for many, many years. And then over here, you can still see just loads of green tomatoes forming away on this broad ripple yellow currant. Grab one of those for a snack between clips. Got the indigo rose over here. I believe it's this plant that is starting to show some color. Gently lift you up. We're getting there. That's not quite as red as I would like to see. So I'm going to give that a bit more time because it is worth the wait. But yeah, those will definitely go on a live stream. Probably be a few mid-clip nibbles along the way, but you know how it goes. That's the 2 bush beefsteaks. Still nothing really impressive going on there. Got, 3 tomatoes, 4 tomatoes on that. So not all of these varieties have been winners. This is the Sweet Juliet. As long as it produces 1 tomato for us each year, we consider it a winner. But the cherry varieties, definitely, they're just blowing me away. This is one of the grapes. Grape tomatoes. Nice clusters, very productive. You can see why they call them grapes. They kind of got the shape, they've kind of got the cluster. It's really nice. We've been really enjoying them. And because they're a paste type tomato, I meant to get one of those in my tasting thing. There's not a lot of gel in there, so it's exactly what I'm looking for in a tomato. The bottom of this pear isn't looking great, but I really haven't been watering these guys. I'm kind of making them work for it, because there is an awful lot of space in between them, so if they just spread their roots out, the moisture is there. And the water table is not terribly low either. This is, what is this? One of the Bellstar plum tomatoes, I think. Be nice when that gets a little bit more red on it. And I think one of the coolest green tomatoes, I don't know if this is going to get color or not, is this black vernissage or sage. But the stripes, the variegation on that, that's cool. I think it's cool. And you know, it's my garden, so I grow what I want. Let's take a look at what's growing on up front, where we can clearly see that this zucchini gets the 2018 Bad Idea Award. Won't be doing that again. The one that's growing in the soil, clearly a much happier, more productive plant. Even if it only does have one on it, its weight is way more than this thing has produced with the several smaller ones we've taken off of it. So, yep, prestigious holder of the 2018 Bad Idea Award right there. Gonna step back a little bit for a kind of an overall look at the 2018 Good Idea Award. Putting these chard plants up here, it's just, I've really enjoyed the look of these. I let them grow just huge compared to what everybody says to harvest them at. I like them bitter. So whatevs. I'm very happy with the production, and it's amazing to me to be growing something, you know, so big around the yard. And again, with chickens in mind, even laced up, my kale is decent chicken food, the chard is decent chicken food. So, great. Apparently it grows well here. Spacing the peppers this year, because I think I had 5 in here last year, I've got 3 in here this year. That is working much better. They're totally not crowding each other at all. I will be using mulch. I'm going to go back to putting my grass mulching down. I didn't notice a difference in height growth on the peppers. If anything, these guys are a little bit shorter than the peppers that were here last year. So I don't feel that the mulch was having a negative effect. And I will be back to reapplying it in my garden. Plus it goes along with that whole no-till thing, doesn't it? The red demon here has got lots of slender little daggers of pain for me, so that is wonderful. Paper lantern up here, developing some nice size on some of those second and third peppers. That first one not quite taking color for me yet, but no signs of any harm or damage or foul play, so really excited. I was telling Shocks earlier on the kitchen channel, I am going to be doing habanero poppers because that just looks like such a beautiful shape for it. And then finally we've got the matchbox pepper in the corner here. We've got this one starting to take some color, that one getting to be a much brighter red than the orange I already harvested. Okay, good to know. And just the numbers. The numbers. Thank you so much for sending me this variety that will survive and produce in a Canadian garden. Oh, Lloyd, you're my hero, man. You have no idea. Speaking of heroes, that brings us to Dave. Dave, oh Dave. Tomorrow, I'm not too worried about those dots, I will be tasting this in live stream, and I will be drying those seeds, and I will be sending them back on down to you. Thank you so much for sharing this pepper variety with me, and I can't even begin to tell you how happy I am to be hooking you back up with some seeds. There's a few on here, like this is about the size that I got last year. You know, I'm just going to harvest these both right now for comparison. This is about the size I've got going as an average pepper this year. This is the size that I had as the average pepper last year. Pretty obvious the plant is doing better this year. And if I can keep this alive yet another season, I suspect it will do even better next year. That one's not quite ready. I don't know, I think those black dots are probably just a little bit of insect damage. So I'm just going to cut those out when it comes time to salt or dehydrate these. It's a shame to see it happening. And if anybody knows maybe what kind of insect is doing that, because that's probably what's going on with my calabaza too. Sure is cool to watch these particular peppers change to that yellowy orange though, because it is very dramatic and it is pretty sudden. Changing to yellow orange from a greeny sort of yellow. It's the Ahia huchapan. I don't think it's showing up as well on my camera as it is to the naked eye, but let's put that over fresh. You can kind of see the orange developing in there. It's still not quite the same kind of orange that I had from the windowsill, but it's definitely a much juicier version of the pepper, so I'm very much looking forward to trying that. I don't know. I'm thinking this is going to get snipped, clipped, taken to the back, and we'll see what happens to it. There's a lot of new growth trying to pop up in the middle there that maybe I can count on for a next year pepper. But if this is what's going to happen to them, undecided. And here we've got the sand dollar pepper from my first season out here. Oh, the sentimental value. Somebody was asking the other day about if it's true that pepper plants can get a wood-like stalk. And at least growing in Canada, like, you got to grow these things for a couple years to really get your bark going on there. But I'm going to say that counts as a woody stalk on the base of a pepper plant. But it kind of has to grow up to be a tree. So I don't think you'll get it on most peppers in your first year. But if you try and overwinter that puppy and she lives, you'll probably find that bark you were asking about. I do apologize because I don't remember the name of the individual asking, but I do remember that you inquired. Here we have the yellow scorpion. Poor Susie. It's opened up another flower, it's closed up, and it looks to be finished with that flower. So maybe there'll be a couple of peppers on that. Got another flower there, got another flower there, got another flower trying to form under there. That is hilarious. There, now that is a survivor. Which is something of a double-edged sword, because obviously I need plants that can suffer through abuse, because that's kind of how I garden. It's I was watching a video in the permaculture stuff, stunned basically, is something about total and utter neglect. Yeah, savage total utter neglect gardening. Anyway, that's how most of my things grow. But if you punish a pepper plant by depriving it of water or whatever when it's one of these hotter pepper varieties, apparently it makes a hotter pepper. Now, I have been punishing that scorpion plant by simply trying to keep it alive for going on 2 years now. Like, this is its second summer. So just how much pain am I going to be in if I do get to test a pepper from that? That is more than a little nerve-wracking for me to think about. That said, massive props to you, Susie, for mowing that sucker down in the live stream. I hope the day after didn't hurt too bad. And yeah, brutal. I will eat one if I get one, but I'm not looking forward to it. I'll do it, but I'm not looking forward to it. You know, it's like parenting. You know, some things you got to do, even though you're not looking forward to it. Anyway, I got these guys for tomorrow, so that's going to be fun. I've got that garden salsa that is definitely not a super chili that I'm going to harvest for tomorrow too, so that'll be fun. Be sure you hit that notification bell if you want to catch the live stream, because I just poof go live. So yeah, it's best to hit that bell. Alright everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another weekly wander around the yard and gardens. I really enjoy sharing my gardens with you, and it's fun to know that you guys enjoy these visits too. So yeah, have a wonderful day. I will be back tomorrow with a live stream, and then Tuesday we get back to the garden vlogs and stuff. Alright, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.